Hey,
Hey, good morning.
good morning. How the heck are you doing today, Kevin?
I'm doing great. It's been a wonderful day already.
That's awesome. And I'm having a great day too. I learned something incredible over the last few days. Did you know? Have you ever seen what's called a jump park?
Jump park. Oh yeah, like the trampoline places,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like with
Oh
trampolines
yeah.
all over the place, kids run around. It looks
Yeah.
super easy, right? You're just bouncing up and down, right? Like, no, that is an amazing workout that just destroys. You're not ready for such a thing. Like,
Okay, so
yeah,
wait a minute. You're telling me you went to a jump park with a bunch of kids and you got on the trampolines themselves. I
yeah,
have to admit, Chris, when I've done it with my kids, it was supervised only.
yeah. Yeah, I made the mistake. I thought, well, that looks easy. You're just bouncing up and down. The trampoline is not doing all the work. You're doing a lot of work, and yeah, that's a mistake. I'll also say that the zip line into the foam pit, while it looks super fun, foam pits are not like water. You do not float to the top of a foam pit. You just go straight to the bottom and you just stay there until a court, a group of teenagers come together and help you to get your
Yeah.
way out of it. It is a sight to see. So
So how much
forewarned.
Advil have you had to take?
Oh, like there is a recommended amount on the bottle. Uh, I,
You've doubled that.
I've taken a little bit more of that. Yes. That's a thing. So
That's funny. That's
yeah,
great.
awesome. So I hope everyone here has had a great Fourth of July weekend and has had likewise crazy,
Mhm.
fun, silly adventures, and we're now getting back at it. So um, if you did something fun over the Fourth of July holiday weekend, post it in the chat. Let us know what your big memorable moment was. Was it fireworks? Was it was it cooking out? Was it going and getting stuck inside of a foam pit? Where,
Or if you just played with fabric all 4th
yeah,
of July weekend and you found something fun, like I think we found something fun, tell us and we'll look into it as well.
yeah. I mean, honestly, and kudos to Kevin. He has been diligently working hard every single week. We get all these messages. I'll admit, like he does all this work. I go, that looks great, and but he had this whole like demo and thing like all planned out and laid out for today. And then he found something new yesterday, and you showed it to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to talk about that today.
Yeah.
So
I think we'll be able to
yeah,
kind of get to both, so we'll kind of tease a little bit there, but
awesome.
the first part was something that I stumbled into. We haven't seen a whole lot of people talk about, so we're gonna get into it here in just a minute, I think, right? I
Yeah.
don't know if we have anything else
Well,
for
just some
setup.
quick things. It's going on in the chat here. Let's see here. We had a couple things here. Alex, or it's not about the cell, is asking Mark about how's his Pie Spark journey going in the O'Reilly book, and he's loving it. Uh, Mark has says he loves the book. I don't know. According to Mark, I just ordered and I literally had Rush delivered that 4
Mm,
a.m. to 6 a.m. delivery that Amazon has in
mhm.
places. This came this morning, so uh, I'm I just got out of the box, so I'm excited about that one. If there's a different book you're reading, let us know. Interested to see about
Alex
what's
just
out
put
there.
one into the
Oh,
chat. That's the
okay.
one that he's going through. I think I've heard of that one as well.
All right. Awesome. Uh,
The comment I made to him in the chat, working on some other stuff, um, using Spark SQL within the notebooks, um, could evolve from your SQL skills, right? It's not exactly like T-SQL, but man,
mhm.
it's really close. And you could do that. You could use that as well instead of just all the Python, right? Because in the notebook you could change out to the different using the magic commands, right, to Python or SQL or a couple other languages and stuff. So
Yeah,
definitely, and I think we'll have that. I've been holding off a little bit till I learned a little more on notebooks and some Python and stuff before I bring it back here. But I'm probably getting close that it's going to happen soon. So we're going to see a little bit on notebooks here. So,
And honestly, I've just started to work with notebooks myself. I published my first Git repo. So if you haven't watched already, the AdventureWorks Lake House, I published out into a Git place. I got a video out there. So I'm just starting to get working with notebooks and Python. But I like it because now I'm able to create tables and manage tables with camel case names. I can you do a whole bunch of stuff that natively you can't do any other way. So do check it out. It really helps out quite a bit. So
yeah.
awesome, awesome, Kevin.
Rules.
Well, yes, we do have some rules. Oh boy. Oh, Chris is we are here. The whole reason we're here is to like help you out, and we all want to grow and learn together. So, but we do have a few rules. We will be inheriting Guy in the Cube rules, or the Matthew Roche rules. Rule number 1: please prefix any questions that you want to answer on the live stream with a Q, so we can get them queued up and answer them. Rule number 2: please do not repeat questions or spam questions. We've got a good community here. There's no abuse yet. So hopefully there won't be abuse in the future. So we won't ever have to use this. But, hey, better forewarned on these things. So awesome. And with that, Kevin, do you want to get into this and set us up with what it was you were doing when you came upon this amazing new feature?
Yeah. So I have some other projects going on with some other MVPs as well, of course, right? And we kind of all do. And we're working with notebooks, looking at things within Fabric and everything. And most of the time, I've been doing this just kind of solo on my own tenant, one of my, either my company tenant, my development tenant, things like that. So I really didn't realize what we found out. So me and another MVP were both in a notebook at the same time. We were talking about what was going through, and I just happened to click on a cell. Well, wait. I could tell you all this part, or I could show exactly what happened. What do you think? You want to
All right,
see it?
let's see it. Yep.
Let's go to my screen. Okay, so in this case, I have 2 users set up, and I think we've used this format before. The web browser here that's outlined with the gray bar is one user, and this is, I call it Kevin Main. This is on my M365 development tenant with a Fabric trial running. And then the blue side is a user that I created. I just call it PPU user 1, right? So to simulate what we were doing, we both opened up, in this case, I'm going to open up Notebook 2. And I'll open up Notebook 2 on both sides. Get rid of these little pop-up messages, give myself a little more screen space. So we were just kind of talking through, paging through, looking at stuff, and I just by chance clicked on a cell. Now, Chris, did you see what happened when I clicked on that cell?
Wait a minute. Did it show up on the other screen too that you're working there?
Exactly. You see over, I zoomed in here. We have Kevin Main, which is the username that's in the gray Edge browser. Kevin Main, it's showing me that user is currently editing this cell. And to me, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. We could do collaboration. So, when we were kind of working together, we just, we noticed it. We kind of moved on because we had some other objectives. But, I was finalizing what I was going to talk about today. And I thought, man, this is really cool. So at 9:00 last night, of course, I'm going, well, what else can I do? So I added a code cell. And you notice as soon as I added it, popped up over here. And I'm just going to add a simple df dot. Right. So it's just going to do a count of all of that. Shows up immediately. And then I'm going to come over on this side now because it's here. You can see on this side at the bottom, zoom in on that. For this user, it's not connected. Sorry, that didn't mean for that taskbar to come up. It's not connected, right? Hasn't run yet. And I'm just going to do my run all. And it's going to kick off. It's got to get the spark pool warmed up. So about, 5-10 seconds, whatever.
Oh, and you
Should
could
be.
see it like right on the other side that it's going
Yeah.
on, right?
So you see, exactly. You see on this side, it's telling me now the output is showing from what PPU user one is running. And this will update. You see, it was pretty much right at the same amount of time that I ran it over here. If I page down, right, I get my row count that I got on this side. So,
Wow.
collaboration, real time working together in notebooks.
I mean, especially if you think about like business analysts and people who are working in the business, like events occur, right? Like something
Mm-hmm.
happens, and people want to know, like, okay, give me some analytics around that. Like, we just had our big 4th of July barbecue party. We had a whole bunch of clients come over. Can you show me what was the average, sales last year from those clients, right? Like in a classical Power BI space, that could be really difficult, or
Mm-hmm.
but here you could easily like ingest those spreadsheets, get some analytics, and really do some crazy mashups there in
Yeah.
conjunction with someone else. So like, okay, hey, maybe I asked for sales, but you're thinking more about, I don't know, the demographics, right? We could really
Yeah.
do that all together.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also thinking code reviews, right? Or
Oh,
somebody getting stuck on something, right?
yeah.
Hey, how many times have you been frustrated that you're on a call with somebody and you're going, well, wait, click in this cell. No, click here, click, and you could just click there and say, this is what, whether you get them to still type it or not, you start it and then you show them, right? Think how much more improvement there
Oh,
from the
sure.
data science world, right? Because this is, we're showing a Python notebook. I happen to be in the data engineering experience mostly, but um, when I work with people that are data scientists, they love to run some code, visualize it, put things up using the Python, libraries to show different graphics and stuff like that. So just how much quicker that'll work, right? To do, like you were saying, kind of the data analytics of the 4th of July or sales or whatever, and having these nice visualizations show up. I think it's going to greatly improve things, Um, yeah, I was amazed by it. I was blown away, and I'm like, why isn't anybody talking about this? Shared working is collaboration is wonderful.
Yeah, this is great, and maybe people aren't talking about it because as far as I know, this is the only place where this exists inside of the Fabric
Hmm.
ecosystem, right? Like, you can't do it in Power Query, you can't do it in data marts, you can't do it in models. I mean, this is the only place where we have this experience. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And so I just stumbled upon it. It was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. As
Look.
Donald mentions, in Excel, it feels like playing Battleship. Click on A6.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Well, I guess,
oh,
like
awesome.
here, I'm trying to see, is this the third? Yeah, I guess you kind of do the same type of thing. You could see we have cell numbers, right? So you could say, click on cell one, line three, right? um,
Right.
there'll be almost the same battleship experience, but this is going to make it a whole lot easier.
Well, it's like,
Uh,
yeah, you can click and say, okay, now come up to this cell where I am, right?
yeah,
And then it just look for, oh, okay, they just scroll and find where you are, and then off to the races, right?
yeah. Now this is interesting because notice on this side, the the cell numbers don't show up.
Oh, interesting.
The line numbers are, but I don't see the same numbering that I had over on the other side.
I wonder if that has to do something with resolutioners. I don't
Um,
know.
what I'm what I'm thinking is because this is the one that ran it. See if I just run it on this side now. You see now, if I run it on this side, as the output shows up, it's going to show me those numbers, and it went away on this side. We might have to hit the ideas site and say,
Yeah.
oh,
Or it could just be a little weird thing in the UI.
Yeah, it could be. And this is interesting. This went to 3. 3, 4.
Yeah, look at how it just all comes together so quickly, right?
Yeah.
You run something on one side and it just appears on the other. That's just fantastic.
Name yourselves, is that what Dan is saying?
I think Raphael and others were saying like, "Hey, name your tables, name your tabs." You say name your cells.
I don't know if they're still on Excel or we're in this experience, but
yeah. Well, yeah, they're flipping all sorts of areas and stuff like that. But I think. Wait, I think this, to have this experience is just inside of the notebooks. It's not inside your data wrangler. It's not inside your Power Query stuff. Am I right in that, or is this?
I haven't seen it anywhere else, but I can't say I've worked enough in those areas to say there is, right. So now I think that's going to be one of the things I'm going to have to distract myself with, is experimenting in other areas to see where else this collaboration feature, and maybe even look to see if there's a blog post or anything. I guess we could see if the "Hey Alex" command works on this side, and see if Alex knows of anything in this area.
Honestly, I like to think I've been trying to keep up with all this stuff, but it's entirely possible I missed it. But I haven't seen this talked about or announced anywhere. In fact, I was a little nervous that this was a preview feature that we somehow had access to. But I see I'm seeing this in other places that I know would not have access to a preview feature.
Yeah, and the tenant that I'm on here is definitely my dev tenant that I don't have it connected to anything with my company or my MVP status or anything like that, and it's a pure Fabric trial. I do this one this way in order to make sure I don't have anything that we have early access to. So I'm pretty confident we're good. If not, one day on the renewal, good luck.
One day in and out. the
shortest
MVPs on the planet. So.
Alex put the link. Okay. Alex put the link on there. Let me open that up.
Look at that.
Bring that over. See, the "Hey Alex" command worked.
Holy cow. But Donald Parrish coming in, and you can't see this I don't know if you can see it on your side, but just 5 seconds behind, like nearly instantaneous.
Man.
That is impressive optimization on the "Hey Alex" side.
There you go. So,
yep.
We could look at this a little bit deeper. Thanks for the link, Alex. There's a comment. I've seen the comment feature. I haven't messed around with that at all, but I might now. And editing the viewing. Nice.
Yeah. This is nice. Although interesting that the comment versus the mockdown. I wonder why you would use one versus the other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good question. You could perform edit, comment, resolve, or delete thread. Okay. So I would think about this like, again, I'm going to go back to kind of code reviews. If you think about Azure DevOps, when somebody does a pull request and on the objects that come in, right, the next person that's going to approve it would be doing their code review at that point, if not earlier. But they could put comments on the particular objects that went in, and then the person that did the code change could sit there and reply back and say exactly why they think it's okay or it's not okay, or change it and update the pull request. So then you can mark the thread as resolved. So then hey, this was addressed or wasn't, type of thing. So I would think, that, and then once it's done, you could decide to delete it. It's not going to live with it. So, the comments maybe it'd be good for temporary right?
Well,
Temporary could still be over days, right? But
yeah, and I now that you say that, I think that makes sense, right? There's your documentation, but then there's your
Mhm.
conversation around it, right? Like,
Right.
hey, I'm trying to use this. This is producing these results. Why the heck is it doing it, right? You can have that back and forth there. Uh,
Mhm.
Whereas you wouldn't necessarily want to put that inside the markdown. So,
Right. And it may not live as long. You may keep it, right? But it
mhm.
may not live as long as your documentation. So,
Yeah, yep, yep, that makes sense. Hey, Mark's asking a question about, does it attach your name to the comment? Are we able to go over to your notebook and check that out?
yeah, sure. So, let's come back up here. See if I'm going to make this screen big for a second.
Yep,
Okay, so there it was. Let me go back to ah, put it on that side.
it's right
I
next
think
to
this is,
editing.
yeah, there it is. Okay.
Yep,
It looks like it does.
yep. Can you tag someone here too, like you can in other places?
No, it doesn't look like a tagging
Okay,
works.
that's fine. MVP, right? Get it out there, get people using it, get feedback. That makes sense.
So now here, I don't see the comment yet.
You have to
Let
click
me
on the
make this,
comment button, don't you?
oh, to see the pane. You're right.
Yep.
Okay. You'd think I'd know how to use my computer here.
Well, it's only because everyone's watching you, and it's recorded for all time, right? Uh, you have to be pretty bold, I think, to do a lot of this live streaming stuff, and especially exploring new features. Like, let's see how we can screw
Yeah.
this up, right?
So you can see that showed up right away over here. We go in the settings. Oh, the settings is the things on the notebook itself.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Spell check. I have like spell check on because as I fill in the markdown, the spell check kicks in, and I'm a horrible speller, so I depend on spell check. So you could change your language here for your spell check if you need to. Keyboard shortcuts. It's got standard and accessible. Line numbers, word wrap. Might have to play with these a little bit. Okay, and it's
Apparently, there's
stored
some
just in your
drama going on here with
stored in your
Powar's
browser cache.
blog, Sandy Powar's blog about not all delta tables are created equal. Interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good blog. I haven't in the other project that I was working on, we were discussing that,
Yeah.
and I think it has to do with what allows direct link storage and what doesn't. Right. Um, so yeah, that's a good one to read. And I think as we get further into some of those things, like I keep mentioning this other super secret project that I'm working on, that we've had a lot of great discussion there and learned from all of us together by doing it. So uh,
Shabnam's in the chat. She just joined us.
she just joined us. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. She's one of my favorite people. I just met her at the MVP conference a couple months ago, and it was so great getting to talk with her and uh, to meet her. So yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's
Awesome.
great to work with. So
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see. Do you have any ETA on when your content's going to be coming out?
middle of July.
Middle of July? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's like next week. Really?
Yes.
Next week?
Yeah. I'll
Holy
be.
cow.
I got some filming to do this weekend, so we're
Yeah.
like this close. This close.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, I know you. When you're like, especially if it's something that has to be really tight, it can be really hard to like fit those in. Like, okay, you have 45 seconds to deliver,
Mm-hmm.
9 minutes of content. So make sure your
Exactly.
words are exactly, planned out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where this whole little deal is. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing when we stumbled upon this, and seeing that multiple people could edit and view the notebook and work together. wonderful feature. So hopefully, people learn about it now and use it. And to me, it's just amazing. Another great feature for Fabric.
Yeah. Well, and clearly it's a thing. Like we have the links to the training on and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's so much to learn, but
Mm-hmm.
take it one bite at a time. Learn what you need to know, and then discover stuff along the way. Right?
Yep. All right. You want to take my
That's
screen
awesome.
down for a little
Yeah.
bit, and
Sure.
we could transition into the topic we thought we were going to do today.
Excellent.
And
Yeah.
I think we could touch enough on it. So, to kind of tee this up, as we're getting into Fabric and everything, Chris, have you thought about what is it going to take to know, you know, you have a Fabric trial going on, what's being used, what's not being used, how much capacity it's taking up, and everything like that. Have you looked at any of that yet?
I mean, honestly, that's been my biggest question since day one, since we started talking about Fabric. Like, knowing where the engagement is, how we're going to manage it, that is a big potential question that we have, right? Like, it's already hard enough in Power BI to know that, oh, I've got a premium capacity and I had someone, like these things that have run fine forever suddenly stopped
Mm-hmm.
running. Where is the problem? Is it within it, the items themselves, or did someone come in and do something like outside of that world, right? Like we had a big issue that we couldn't sort out, and it turned out someone had figured out a way to deploy a paginated report that would extract all of the data out of our lake house
Oh my
like
goodness.
every like 38 seconds, or attempt to do that. And Power BI at the time hadn't put had no one had attempted that, so they didn't have any throttling controls around it. So it's just like basically doing a denial of service attack on our Power BI premium capacity.
Yeah.
And that was like causing these huge outages. Well, now they fixed that you can't do that, so you don't have to worry about that being a thing. But how would I know in Fabric if I have my lakehouse running? I've got all my processes in place. How would
Mm-hmm.
I know if you came along and did something um, that was like then slowing things down or consuming all the compute and preventing me from doing my loads? Right? That's
Yeah.
a great question.
Yep. So I'm going to put a link in the chat here
Mm-hmm.
that we'll get started with. If you want to go ahead and show my screen again.
Sure.
So I found this article over on LinkedIn, supervise the use of Microsoft Fabric. And the first part of this article is really just kind of talking about getting going, right? Enabling Fabric that we've talked about before. So I want to focus, I'm going to page down quickly to monitoring, right? So come in, look at this article a little bit and start looking at monitoring. And a little bit of what you were talking about is we have the monitoring hub, which is available to you, and it shows. Let's see if I could focus in a little more on his screen print. It comes out a little bit fuzzy, but that allows you to see things that have been running, that have completed. This is filtered down to just data sets, data flow. On your question, I think we'd have to explore it. I don't know if it could handle finding the paginated report or not. I do know. I think if you found it, you probably looked at your premium capacity app, which maybe helped you find it. There's
Uh,
a. Go ahead.
so yes, that is what eventually led us to finding it. But it was not easy to sort it out, and at the time, it wasn't clear that that's
Yeah.
what that was. So
Yep.
uh,
So the monitoring hub is something to keep an eye on. It might have helped you, with your problem. If we're seeing other things like jobs that are running, notebooks and running and things like that, um, I think you're going to be able to see it here in this monitoring hub. So kind of keep an eye on this one. They've added the admin monitoring,
mm,
um, which is a report that you can now see if you're a tenant admin. and it just is. You, if you're a tenant admin, you just automatically click on it. It's automatically installed and everything. And I'll bring that up on my tenant here in just a little bit, and we could explore it. But that's another area to kind of see what's being used, what features are being adopted, right? And it uses the decision tree chart here to sit here. I think that's what that's called. That you could break down across multiple dimensions to see, what's being used, who's using it, expand it all out. So you could see here that how much activity is by lake house. Then this is the fabric name, which I think is the capacity name. You can see that's got a big bar here, admin monitoring, and then who's using it, right? Another point is you could create custom reports off of that. I think this is his custom report. He's blurring out a whole lot.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to help you kind of figure out who's using what, find out what is being used, what's being tested, especially during this trial. You're going to want to kind of know what people are doing if you have it enabled.
Well, and Dan is pointing out that, this is really only for the capacity admins. And
Yes.
while that is limiting, Donald is right. Like, we don't have a lot of people who are capacity admins these days, right? Classically, inside the Power BI space, the recommendation was to have limited numbers of people that manage the capacities, but potentially many people that contribute to the capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I think as Fabric starts to evolve and we start to do more and more inside of Fabric, we're going to see that number of people who are admins and capacities increase, and that recommendations go shift, because I think you're gonna. I think we'll still have the centrally managed broad capacities for people to randomly do stuff, but I think we're gonna have a broader base of people who are going to need to be able to manage and own capacities that they're doing content. So
Yeah, and I'm thinking what I thought I heard or read is that the admin monitoring workspace, which I moved into on the left side of my screen here, because this user is the tenant admin in my dev one. You can see all I had to do is workspaces. It is up at the very top, like where my workspace is. But if I look over on this user who is not a tenant admin, it's not even available. And I think let's see, if I do manage access, see what happens if I add CPU user one as a viewer. Come over here, again, doing live demos without ever checking anything.
hey, if it works in prod, then it works, right?
Exactly. What's the name? Is admin.
Well, and while you're
It's
doing
not even
this,
showing up.
hey, for those of you who are watching and monitoring, thank you guys for joining us. But if you could like the video, share with friends and family. Apparently, I forget to ask that, so let me ask that. So, so did it not show up?
No, it's not showing up.
Okay, interesting.
Let me get rid of some of these things. I'm going to refresh one more time. Maybe it takes a little bit, but
yeah, I have seen there's some there is some caching that goes on around what you have access to and what not, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what Dan was pointing out is this report, this feature usage and adoption report is only available to tenant admins right now. So even adding somebody, let me change the access and see. Oh, interesting.
Oh, look at that.
I can't even seem to remove it.
Oh, I'm guessing. Yeah, you can't even change it, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, and I can't even change that either.
Well, how the heck do you get the other people in?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me let's try something. take this link. Look at that. If I have the direct link, I'm able to get there.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So you could
So
still share this. So you could embed it as long as this isn't a bug, right?
yeah.
You could share it with the group and you could embed it inside like your Center of Excellence app where
Oh,
you
here.
share stuff with users. You could embed this inside there, right?
Look at it. So now it shows up as that's the workspace that I'm in.
Oh, and you can access the workspace
Yeah.
there. Interesting.
So I'm going to go home,
Yep.
go look at my workspaces again,
It's not there.
but it's not there. But if I'm given access and given the direct link, then I can get there and bring it up from there, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Well, what do you need if you have the report, do you really need the workspace? I don't know.
yeah, I don't. That's good question, but
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm assuming I could get into this. I haven't explored this one a whole lot. The purview
Oh,
report that's supposed to show things that are connected through, I think, and stuff like that. So
yeah. I think I agree with Alex here. It feels like we're in bug territory. Like
yeah, it
this
kind of
shouldn't
does.
necessarily work the way it is, and I do not know. Is this showing us like is this the behavior we should be getting, or should they not have access to it? And this is just there's an issue here, right?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like since they allow you to add somebody as a viewer, right? That you should be able to give access, but then I would think it should just normally show up under workspaces. So
That's
um,
true.
interesting, but you know, hey, you heard it here first. You got a workaround. Just provide the link.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and yeah, it does allow you to add stuff in. So luchador.
Yeah. So now, where I really think we get into really kind of understanding what's going on is the Fabric Utilization and Metrics app. And this
Mm-hmm.
is one that I definitely would recommend if you have a trial. Go ahead and get this installed. It's through the app experience, right? So kind of through the marketplace. We'll see if I can figure out how to do that live here in just a second. Um, it's been a long week. But this lets you know what's running, how much the CUs that it's taking up. And honestly, I haven't been able to figure out what the number means to me yet. The number of users, how often it's running. Look at this is the one visualization that I love because I even use it for my premium capacities. Is it starts showing you how much of your capacity you're using. So I love that visual. So let me go ahead and find the right screen to bring that one up. It's going to be over here. Yeah, this one. So this is on my tenant, and you could see for a number of days it was just very low activity.
Mm-hmm.
You have to configure your capacity, or at least one of them for it to help you do authentication.
Mm-hmm.
I just have this one capacity here. So you can see I was kind of doing my development, things would spike or whatever. So earlier this week, I went ahead and scheduled some jobs to run to try to get this chart to do exactly what it's doing, to jump up. I have a couple jobs that are running every 2 hours.
Okay.
And so now we could see over here, this is the chart that I was saying I like a whole lot. And I usually bring it into focus mode. I don't know if you could see that enough on the bottom of my screen. I'm not seeing what's on the live stream right now, right? I mean, the trial capacities that they give us are really big. They're, I think, the equivalent of a P1.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm not hitting even enough to, I'm maybe hitting 5%, 3%, 4% of, the total usage.
Right.
But you can see how it's gone up over time, right? Because I scheduled those jobs and how things are running. So, you could definitely get a lot of information from this. Uh, we do got to figure out what these numbers mean to us, because what I'm wondering is, if you start with a trial and you do some development, uh, and you go, hey, this is what I think it's going to look like. You want to get it really close to what it's going to look like going in production. And then you want to say, well, what size capacity do I really need to purchase and keep up? These numbers should help. I don't have the algorithm down yet on how, and I don't know if anybody else has come up with that. So I'm going to keep watching for things like that. But hopefully we'll be able to take an algorithm that says, here's what it is in, this trial capacity, and this is what it's going to equate to for when you buy the actual capacity. I do like that we could see, at least in this case, I have the way this reads out is I have a World Cup workspace, the World Cup Lakehouse workspace. It's running a pipeline, and then I think this was the execution GUID, um, or maybe it's the GUID to the path or whatever. And you could see the data movement, how this is taking up most of the CUs. The activity run isn't. Let me make that. Oh, I can't make that bigger. They took the icon off that they have up here. They turned. Oh, there. Wait, here it is. It's just blocked by that other thing. So now we can see this is our biggest item, right? And how it kind of works out from there. So what I think is all, because I have this pipeline calling these other notebooks. So this may be the notebook I want to focus in on, this silver to gold notebook, and see what kind of processing that's doing, because that's my largest CUs. It's pretty big on my duration and everything. When I look at World Cup, that is my lake house using data warehouse, I'm seeing some different numbers. And historically, these type of reports have always taken a long time to run queries. So don't. I clicked on
Well,
this and
hang
it's
on.
still
And
spinning.
there's a number in there that looks really interesting. Look at that
Mm-hmm.
data flow staging Lake House World Cup. Look at the duration. What is that? 1.5 million seconds, but only 294 CUs. That seems down,
Hmm.
right? Do you see the
Yeah,
no,
you're talking this line here, right?
go down. Go down like 4 rows, 3 rows.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Look at that, right? Like, that's crazy, the amount of number of seconds that ran, but also how low the CUs are.
Yeah, that is interesting. Now, I have at least one support ticket open right now, because on this tenant, I'm having trouble with some of my SQL endpoints and some of my warehouses. So I'm wondering if it's run into that type of problem, right?
Oh,
And this is really a wait time for it to start up. Um, but so I wouldn't take that. You do kind of have to, just like with any performance tuning, like one of the things we could do is say, hey, look, Thursday was the biggest day, right? Maybe Friday right now. Well, let's focus in on Thursday. So if I just click on Thursday, this bottom visual is going to start to refresh. We could look to see what happened just on that one day, right? And you could see how my percent of CUs changed here quite a bit. Went to the time of day because it's all just one day.
oh,
Um,
interesting. Look at
yeah,
that.
to where
It was just like
when it was.
constant throughout the day.
Yeah, well, because what I'm doing is actually alternating two different jobs, running every 2 hours or something like that, right? So about every hour another job is kicking off. So I was trying to
Okay.
get some data to go onto this chart. So that's, to me, this is expected, but you can see I'm still not even going over within a particular hour or whatever. I'm
Right.
not going over 20% or something, whatever this is,
Well, and actually
23%.
this kind of leads into a question about, like, James asked, like, he said, "Does anyone feel comfortable using Fabric for production loads?" And well, I think uh, I think it's, how about no right now?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that doesn't mean we can't or shouldn't be running production like loads
Yes.
on Fabric, right? Like you've got your stuff up and running, that I don't, you've got your stuff in Databricks, or you've got your stuff in
Mm-hmm.
SSIS, or you've got your stuff existing other places. Having
Yeah.
those go in parallel and being able to tell what's going on inside like your unique situation inside your company, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to really be a strong indicator as to when that type of a conversion is a possibility, right? So
Yeah.
if you're in notebooks, Databricks today, right? Like, understand, what does it take for you to take a notebook, move it into Fabric, do whatever conversions necessary to like get it
Mm-hmm.
to run inside Fabric, because there's differences between the tooling. They use basic Python, but Databricks has some proprietary stuff on it. Fabric has some proprietary stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
Understand what that takes, and then run them and see what your performance is like. Now,
Yeah.
be aware, I'm sure you'll find some, or many, or I don't know what percentage, that run better on Databricks, and some that run better on Fabric. And it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be something that you have to kind of get a feel for what's best and what's right for your organization, right?
Yeah. And I think the key word that I heard you say there was production like.
Yes. Yep.
Because, it's still in preview.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could open up support tickets. You're going to get, the support team working with you, and as you know, we're even asked to go ahead and do that because the more tickets that they see, the better the support team's going to be when this becomes GA, right?
Yep.
So, that was one of the reasons I decided to open up the ticket, because it wasn't important to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could have tried through other channels, or talking about it on Twitter or something like that, but let's help get the support team up to how they diagnose problems and everything. But the preview part to me is the biggest thing. Most of my customers, I mean, my first recommendation is do not run anything that's production off of preview unless you intentionally made that decision.
Yes. Yep.
So typically don't do that. There have been some preview features that have come out that are very low risk that we've used in places.
Mm-hmm.
But this, I don't think it's a low risk to just go ahead and push a production load onto it yet. I don't think that it's production ready.
Well,
Andy Cutler has put a article out there that talks about things that he's looking for production. If we could find that article real quick, but he's put the same thing out there and waiting until it gets all these production support things. So,
I would like to agree with that. And the reason I also say production like is, you may find that there is a time and a place where a subset of what you've migrated onto Fabric is running and meets your needs better than
mm-hmm.
what your current production environment does.
Yeah.
And as you said, you may strategically choose to move that. Case in
Mm-hmm.
point, I was lucky to be part of the like alpha testing of Power BI Gen 2, what's now just Power BI premium
Mm-hmm.
models. We had some executive dashboards that were high priority and had high visibility. We had that on our current premium capacities. We deployed them in parallel, and we had them up and running, and we were monitoring them. And we saw that because we were in a shared capacity, um, the executive dashboards were failing X% of the time, but our preview Gen 2 environment wasn't failing like at all. So we decided, you know what, it's worth the risk to get executives the increased performance, to get the increased reliability, to like run that on the preview feature. Also knowing that, hey, you know what, we still have our quote unquote production stuff is still running in our production space.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, we just swap this stuff out. They won't really necessarily know, and we'll be good
Mm-hmm.
to go yet. So
Yeah. And I would definitely, the approach that you mentioned is great, but also do it on something that is low risk, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Don't pick your financial application that they need to do
Payroll runs off
reporting.
of.
Yeah, well, or that they need to be doing, the finance reporting that they need to get up to the CEO on a weekly, monthly basis, and that feels pretty critical, right? So pick
Mhm.
something that is not as critical first, right? That the standard way of everything is kind of thought of. Pick something that is low risk, get it in there, like you said, put it as a production like. If you're happy with it, make it your production at that point, but don't go to the whole risky things yet. So great question.
I
Um, if you could share my screen, let's just
Yeah.
touch real quick on how you get that app to kind of wrap up. So
Sure.
you can see I already have it. What I came in here is I clicked on the apps
Hmm.
icon, and now we can click on our Get Apps. And what I like to do then is my search. And what was it called? Let's just look for fabric. And if you start typing fabric, you're going to
Mm.
see this app come up. I already have it, so clicking on it isn't going to do anything. But you just click on it here under the Get Apps. Uh, you will have to find your capacity ID,
Mhm.
which if you're a capacity admin or a tenant admin, right, you're going to be able to come into your admin portal down here,
Mhm.
go to capacity settings. You will see the capacities that you have here. And I think, where's the ID at?
It's right in the URL.
Oh, yes. Good idea. Good catch. So right here, you can catch it in your URL at the very top of the screen. And then you're going to have to plug that into your configuration, authenticate to the back end. That's what helps everything authenticate. And then it'll just set up a refresh and you'll be good to go.
Fantastic. Oh, that's awesome. And what does it look like when it's deployed? Did it refresh yet, or is that still running?
It's this application that we were
Oh,
talking
the one
about
we were just
already.
talking about. Okay, all right.
Yeah, the
I didn't know if
fabric
it was something
capacity
new. I
metrics.
got you. I got you.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic, man.
Yeah, hopefully that'll help people out. They'll be able to kind of look at it. Oh, that's interesting. This chart now
You got
refreshed a
this.
little bit, and it's
Yeah.
because I'm still stuck on. I'm looking at. I have to
You're looking at
kind of.
all time versus if you click on that dates like you did before, it'll show you that different view, right?
Yeah, let's see what this is saying. Just the overall capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we see we got a whole lot more. I must have had something else clicked before. But we can see we got more activity as expected because I started scheduling jobs more, right?
Okay.
So I tend to use this window quite a bit to start figuring out, hey, I added something else to the capacity because they have a very similar report for your Power BI Premium, um, and this same visual is there, and it really helps you kind of figure out, hey, am I getting close to having to think about the load on my capacity, to reevaluate what's there, whatever, because you want to do that. I look at it at least on a monthly basis, or if I know we move something big onto or bigger than normal onto the capacity, so that
Yeah.
I could say, hey, we're growing. I could alert somebody and say, we need to start thinking about the budget process, everything else in order to, because that's not easy to say, we're going to add a whole nother P1 on the Power BI side. It's
Right.
not easy to add another $5,000 a month to a budget. So,
Well,
uh,
and if you're working in a shared capacity, it can often be a good idea to train people up in how to work and operate in here, to
mhm.
look at these things and to read it so that they too can go in and say, like we were talking about earlier, like, hey, my stuff was running all the time, everything's fine. It suddenly started to fail. Is it me or is it someone else in that shared space, right?
Yeah. And this one doesn't have a drill through. Hopefully they'll get there. Um, on the Power BI premium capacity.
Mm-hmm.
What I like is this chart has a drill through. I don't think I have that. Let's see if I have that set up on this tenant. I know we're getting close on time.
So while you're
Workspaces.
pulling that up, I'm just going to quick
Here we go.
answer a question or two. Get to that in a
Yeah.
second. James is asking, have they announced a GA date or time frame? They have not. I know there's a lot of attention from conversations with like engineering teams and leads at Microsoft. I know there's a lot of attention to making sure that they have not just 5 nines of availability, but like they've got, as Kevin was saying, like all of their team members ready to go to support it, to make sure that these things are up and it's running. And so when they go to GA, it's a rock solid GA. You know, Microsoft is great at minimum viable product deployments and rollouts, but they really want to have, you know, that minimum. They're trying to really keep that bar pretty high to get it out there, so that, you know, when it goes to GA, you know, there's strong confidence that you can trust it and that it's highly available. It's another great reason to have production like stuff running in parallel, because you know, I'm a big fan of trust but verify, right? Like if Microsoft says, hey, it's GA, okay, good, but know it for yourself. Know that, you know what, yeah, this stuff, my production like stuff, has been running for 3 months with lower issues than my existing production environment. Right, know that yourself, so that when it does go to officially GA, you can, you know that you can trust it because you've verified it yourself. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, I have
Yep.
this is the similar type of report, but it's considered from the Power BI premium capacity side. But if I bring up this report, this same type of visual, I have or I thought I had. Let's see. There it is. Maybe I didn't on the other one. It's there too. I could do a drill through, and it's called point of time detail. So it brings me to that bar chart, the bar that I clicked on, and it brings me to that exact point in time,
Interesting.
right? And you could see all the operations that were occurring, uh, interactive operations, background operations. Um, if it failed, you will see that. I have seen that over on my other capacity for my clients. You can see kind of what's running, what's taken a lot of time, what's taken a lot of CPU. This has been, you know, and this is what I would have thought you would have used, Chris, when you were talking about your paginated report area. Is if you come into that, you could see a lot of time coming up at a particular interval. You right click on that, and it takes you to this evidence page,
Yep.
and it's wonderful. To me, it drills in exactly, you know, reading it, I could find exactly what was causing problems at that particular time.
It was funny because this was not out at the time. And so it was an interesting coincidence. They were previewing it, and we were able to actually get a preview download and install, and it was kind
Oh,
of
nice.
wonky, but that
Yeah,
is what ended up sorting it out. So yes.
perfect.
And then before we go, we have a question with a cliffhanger here. All right. Rafael is asking, hey, are you planning to use the default data set or create several custom data sets in production when it's ready? And to that, I'm going to say, hey, on Wednesday, Christina Hughes is going to be joining me for a lunch and learn where we're going to be going through CI/CD, and I'm really excited about this conversation because uh, when we go into this conversation, and I'm going to be asking her, and we're going to be going into why you should stop using Power BI data sets inside the service. And so I'm very excited
Interesting.
to dig into that conversation with her. So do check it out.
I'll be tuned into that one. I'm very interested in others' thoughts on how CI/CD works. I have maybe a different perspective on those data sets, but why don't we wait till after we hear what she has to say, and then we'll talk about that next Friday.
it's going to be a great show. And before we go, I do want to thank out
Thanks,
our number 3 super chat. So thank you very much, Mark.
I think 2 are from Mark as well, right? So
oh, you're right. You're right.
yeah. So
Mark
Mark
well,
has
then it
been
might be 4. So that,
maybe I can't remember that many
yeah.
shows back. So,
All right. All right. All right.
but thank you,
Well,
Mark.
thank you, guys. Yes, thank you all so much. And we will be back again next Friday. Going through and digging into Fabric Fridays. I absolutely love this hour every single week to talk about these new tools, learn new things, and excited to do that together as a community. So thank you, Kevin, and thank you, everyone.
Topics, leave it in the comments or reach me or Chris on the socials, and we'll dig into them.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Peace.
Peace.
Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.